Hello, this is D, and I'm back with another video. And today we're going to get into the Xbox Games Showcase as well as Phil Spencer's IGN interview. Now, Phil Spencer's interview is a little bit later on in this video. I'll leave in the description down below a timestamp if you guys want to skip ahead to that part. But we got to talk about the games that were displayed at Xbox's showcase yesterday. They showed so many first-party games. It was an absolutely incredible showing from Microsoft. Now, if you're an Xbox fan, you have to be excited after yesterday's show. Xbox kicked up like they were the Undertaker. It was an unbelievable show, and it floored pretty much all of the gamers. Now, I wrote on my Twitter that Xbox delivered the best show ever, minus the Series X digital. This was a near perfect show, 9 out of 10. So many games were shown. Sony fans are crying that none are coming to PlayStation 5. Now, some people in the comments section say, hey, some of those games are coming. Yes, Doom is coming, Call of Duty is coming, but the majority of these games are exclusive to the Xbox and PC platform. And I gotta say, it's a huge W for Xbox fans. It's a huge W for Game Pass fans. And I went on to say that Xbox went from a drought to a flood. Gamers are eating well now. Xbox got the W. I did a poll and 95% agreed with me that Xbox won, and this was the best show that they ever put on. Now, I saw some other similar polls, and it's pretty much the same sentiment across the internet. Now, they showed so many games. They showed like 17 games that are coming to Game Pass. I can't go through all of the games today because the video would just be too long, and I want to get into Phil Spencer's interview because he said a lot of important things. He addressed the Game Pass naysayers. He even talked about whether he cares if you go on Game Pass or if you just buy the game outright. He also talked about an Xbox handheld. So it's definitely worth the watch. Like I said in the description down below, you can skip ahead if you just want to see that part. Well, let's get into some of the games that were shown yesterday. Now, unfortunately, I can't get into every single game. I'm going to put a list up on the screen right now so you guys can see all the games that are coming to the Game Pass service. And it is such a diverse lineup. Now we have Call of Duty Black Ops 6. Now that opened up the show, and I gotta say, what a fantastic showing. Now, a lot of people were worried when Microsoft acquired Activision that they would water down the studios and that we wouldn't get the same Call of Duty experience. Now, as you can see from the trailer, we are getting not the same experience, we are getting a better experience. They've advanced the gameplay. We now have Omni movement, where you can move around like a real operator, making it look less awkward in action, and of course giving you more precision. Round-based zombies makes a return, and overall the story is just looking fantastic. I gotta say, I'm so excited that this game is coming to Game Pass day and date. Now, a lot of people were speculating that this would not come to Game Pass, and Phil actually addresses that in the interview. But as you guys know, this is coming to Game Pass day and date this October. We also saw Flight Simulator 2024. This game looked phenomenal. This by far is one of the best looking games ever created. The attention to detail, the realism, it just looks like you're really flying a game across the globe. The lighting, the maps, everything is accurate. One of my favorite games. It's definitely a treat for all of you graphic guys out there. Now, this is going to have a little bit more of an arcade feel with the 2024 feeling. You're going to be able to do chartered jets. You're going to be able to water crops. You're going to be able to do rescue missions, fly Red Bull planes, helicopters, hot air balloons, and the list goes on. And this is coming out in October. It's coming day and date. We also saw State of Decay 3, which is a huge improvement over the previous iteration, which was a big improvement over the previous games. Now, State of Decay 3 looks fantastic. It's coming out early 2025, and it's coming to Game Pass day and date. We saw Fable. Now, when Fable was first released, a lot of people were saying, no, this is not gameplay. And I was under the assumption that it was gameplay because this is running on Unreal Engine 5. And that's the whole purpose of Unreal Engine 5, to give you that realism. Now, they gave us a lot of gameplay in this trailer. So for those doubting that this was in-game graphics that were shown the first time, I don't think you can doubt anymore. This is the real deal. Fable is going to be a hit. I think Playground Games is doing a fantastic job on the franchise. I'm not a huge Fable guy. I didn't really play the original ones too much. It just wasn't my thing. But this Fable looks really attractive. And once again, day and date in Game Pass service, and getting rid of the narrative that Xbox doesn't have games that look good. We have Call of Duty, we have Flight Simulator, we have State of Decay 3, and Fable that I'm talking about right now. These games all are pushing the graphical boundaries. Next up, we have Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. Now, they didn't really show us too much more than what they showed the original time. We did get a new set piece over, I don't know, some mountain, and they were inside of a cruise ship. It was a really good looking scene. I thought it was a little bit rough around the edges, but of course, they're going to clean that up before it releases. But overall, you got that whole Indiana Jones feel. And once again, this game is coming to Game Pass day and date. Mixtape. I don't know what this game is all about, but it looks fantastic. The art design is incredible. It's just a really good looking game. And once again, adding more value to your Game Pass service. Mixtape might not be for everybody, but somebody out there will enjoy this game. And it just adds to the variety of Game Pass. Once again, making this service incredible. We saw Wu Chang, Fallen Feathers, Sea of Thieves, Dragon Age, Perfect Dark. Now, Perfect Dark, a lot of people were hyped up for Perfect Dark, including myself. Now, overall, I thought it was a really good showing for Perfect Dark. I was a little bit disappointed because I wanted it to be a third-person adventure action type of game, and it's a first-person game that has parkour elements. Now, I have to see more of this game. I'm not saying it's a bad game. It looked pretty good. I was just personally disappointed that it wasn't an over-the-shoulder type of game. Doom: The Dark Ages. This game looks incredible. The level of detail, it is coming to Game Pass day and date. Now, I saw some people throwing some jabs out there saying, oh, well, this game is coming to PlayStation. Yes, we know this game is coming to PlayStation. It's kind of treated like a third-party game where it's going to be on multiple platforms. But the perk of being an Xbox gamer is that you have this day and date in your Game Pass service, meaning you can play it on your Xbox, you can play it on your PC. If you want, you can outright buy it. This adds overall value to the service, and I'm not upset that this game is coming to PlayStation. I realize that some of these studios are going to release games on the PlayStation because it makes sense, because it just is more profitable for those companies that they acquired, and it just makes sense to make some of these games multi-plat, like Call of Duty. Now, imagine if Call of Duty Black Ops 6 was just on the Xbox. With all of the money that they put into that game, do you know how much money they would lose if it was just on Xbox? So some games, it makes sense for it to be on all platforms, and I think it's good for gamers overall. And once again, the perk of an Xbox gamer is that you have this in your service, in your Game Pass subscription service, day and date. Now, we also saw Assassin's Creed Shadow, and I was really impressed by the gameplay of this game. Now, I haven't played an Assassin's Creed game in quite a while. I'm not really a huge Assassin's Creed fan, but this one makes me want to go back and pick it up. Now, it's a third-party game, so we're not going to get too much into it. There's lots of trailers out there, but it was a part of the show, and of course, it's coming to the Xbox platform, so it was really good for the brand. Now, we got to see Expedition 33. That looked fantastic. Metal Gear Solid stole parts of the show. A lot of people were losing their mind. It keeps the original feel of the game alive with a modern take on it, with all of the graphics and movement. I gotta say, it really looked fantastic. Now, it's coming out in early 2025, and once again, we're gonna be able to play this on Xbox. So for those thinking that Xbox has no games, we got games. Yes, it's going to be on other platforms, but it still looked fantastic, and we got to see it running on an Xbox console. Now, I'm just going to kind of narrow it down to some of the games that really set it apart for me. Now, Stalker 2 looked fantastic, and I gotta give credit to those developers because they're going through hell over there because they're actually in a war with another country. Now, I don't want to get into all of the details of that because it gets a little bit sad, but they have lost team members to the war. So it's a testament to their work for them to be able to get this game out looking the way it looks, having the level of polish and detail that it has. I gotta say that I'm really looking forward to the Stalker 2 game, and we don't have that long to wait because it comes out in September. Now, South of Midnight, this stole the show for me. South of Midnight came out of nowhere. The art style, the direction of that game, I am a fan of it now. We saw a trailer of this not too long ago, and it looked pretty cool, but we got to see this game in action, and the stop motion action that it has I've never seen anything like this in a game. The level of detail, everything was just really visual, bright, detailed. The character models, the dialogue, the music, the story beats. I'm really digging this. And I think that they have a hit underhand with South of Midnight. Now, we got some Fallout 76 stuff. Not going to get into all of that. It's cool. We're going to have some DLC for those that want to play that game. We also got some Starfield DLC, Shattered Space. They showed us some stuff. It looked really cool. The Shattered Space stuff looked really cool. And I got to say that Starfield is a pretty good game. Now, unfortunately, we didn't get an exact release date for Shattered Space. We just know that it's coming out later in 2024. I would say maybe in November that we'll probably get Shattered Space. Now, they close the show out with Gears of War E-Day. Now, when people saw this, they were losing their minds. I couldn't believe that we're actually getting a prequel. Now, most people were expecting Gear 6 or the Marcus Phoenix collection. Nobody was expecting Emergence Day, or I should say E-Day. And I gotta say, it looked fantastic. It's running on Unreal Engine 5. They used the score from the original Gears trailer, and I gotta say, it just gave me that old school feeling of Gears of War. Now, of course, they're a lot younger here, and we're gonna get some new stories and a new experience in Unreal Engine 5, and I'm just so excited for the next Gears of War. Now, it's coming out in 2025, and once again, day and date in Game Pass. Now, overall, this show, I ranked it really high. I gave it a 9 out of 10. I thought it was a near perfect show. Now, at the end, they introduced some new consoles, and I'll be honest with you guys, the prices of them kind of turned me off. An all-digital Series X, like, that should have been there from day one to compete with the all-digital PlayStation 5. I believe that the Series S was a mistake because it is holding back development on certain games. Now, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer here today, but the Series S is the major console that they sell right now. The Series X does not sell as much as the Series S, so it is here to stay. So the Series X all digital, honestly, it just doesn't make sense for me, especially when we know later on this year, Sony is going to be releasing a more powerful PlayStation 5. And I just don't think it's going to bode well against that console. But today is about celebration, so that's all the bad news you're going to get. I think that Xbox fans should be really excited. The show was one of the highest rated shows in years. In my opinion, I think it was the best show that they ever did. We really got to see Game Pass demonstrate its power. Look at all of these games that are on your screen right now. Look at your screen right now. The majority of these games are coming to Game Pass day and date, and that is fantastic. Okay, finally, we're going to get into Phil Spencer's IGN interview. Now, he really went into detail on quite a few things. He gave his opinion on Game Pass, whether he cares if you get games in Game Pass or if you buy them outright. He talked about the naysayers. He talked about the improvement that they have under multiplayer sales, as well as their Game Pass subscribers. He even talks about a handheld Xbox device, and if that were to come out, what it would entail. Now, this is a great interview, so without further ado, I'm just going to get into this interview. I'll come back at the end and just kind of summarize my thoughts on his interview. So let's just get into Phil Spencer and his thoughts on the future of the Xbox brand.
Welcome to IGN Live. Earlier today, we got a brand new Xbox game showcase from Phil Spencer and his team, featuring a ton of reveals and surprises. There's a lot to talk about. Who better to talk about the present and future of Xbox than the
Ryan
Xbox
McCaffrey
himself? They want to hear from you, my friend, not me. Phil Spencer, thank you and welcome to IGN Live.
Thanks, Ryan. Thanks, everybody.
So
your energy's incredible.
We have 1 hour together on the dot, and we have some friends coming in halfway through, some other awesome Xbox developers. So
people who actually build games.
I don't want to waste a second with you here, and I want to start. I said this earlier on this stage. I think you just had the best showcase you've ever had. I really mean. I said it before you got here.
Thank you, Ryan.
It really was fantastic. Now, I know you plan these things months and months in advance. For anybody that doesn't know, that planning for this starts like the beginning of the year kind of thing.
That's right.
It's crazy. So, I'm curious. At what point do you, with this one this year, do you get a feeling that, oh, this one's looking pretty good?
Yeah,
Don't be humble. Just tell us the real answer here.
Honestly, until our fans, the customers, you guys give us the feedback. Like Aaron Greenberg and I were talking about this 2 weeks ago. Now, the thing that probably hit me the most was obviously just the passion of the teams of putting their amazing work on stage and seeing so many teams do great work. But it was based, I'd say 2 months ago, when I just looked at the kind of scale of the franchises, how much work the teams were doing to show up in the way they did, and the partners that we had in the show. Like, I was in awe of this show.
There's a couple games I want to ask you about specifically before we'll talk about some other stuff too. But the one that I said, right, for me, of all the great stuff from today, stole the show for me was something I wasn't expecting to see today again, which was Perfect Dark.
I knew you were going to say that.
Perfect Dark. A first-person spy espionage, some parkour, a little Mirror's Edge in there, which I love.
All playable, like all in-game.
Yeah. And that game's been cooking for a long time. We know that. We've followed
the partners at Crystal have been doing amazing work there.
Yeah, Crystal was brought in to help it keep going. So what has it been like for you to kind of follow the very long trajectory of that game from, it started with Daryl Gallagher starting a studio. And
just
now,
down the street.
Yeah, and now we're finally here. Like, so how has it been kind of getting to this point with Perfect Dark?
Yeah, in parallel, building a studio while you're building a game, and something that Perfect Dark back to N64 and obviously us with PDZ on 360. Like, there's just such anticipation for that game, and I really appreciate everybody's patience, because we've been talking about this for a long time. And like, my team can verify this. When I saw it, I said, this is the one that Ryan's gonna love, because we know his love for Spy, and I said, this is the one. And just so proud of the team, and it really just came together so well. And I mean, a cool little story. Daryl had our other studio heads down at the studio just yesterday and walked through that same section in-game to show them, like, this is a game being played. And I love seeing our community of creators coming together that way.
Well, another, the one more thing, which we were all hoping for and got, was a new Gears of War game, but it wasn't. It wasn't Gears 6.
It was not.
It was not Gears 6. So, what you have a visibility into everything, but I'm curious, when you're in a meeting with, maybe it's Matt Booty, maybe it's Alan Hartman, but the Coalition folks, like, when you learn that they've gone down the E-Day road, the prequel road, rather than Gears, like, what was your reaction when you found out that was going to be the next direction for Gears of War?
Well, you know this. We've had some changes in leadership at the studio. Rod, who was there, is now leading Diablo for us. So I actually thought, a Diablo game I'm playing a ton of, I thought it was a nice opportunity for that team to establish their Gears, right? And following on Gears 5, just because the numerical thing, like, I think it would this was an opportunity for them to take it back to an origin story that I know that has a lot of, like, real depth to it in terms of Emergence Day, and tell that story through the Coalition as it is today. I thought, like, what a great opportunity. I was excited. And then you probably saw, I know you heard it, the Mad World tune in the play piece.
Oh, yeah.
Like, for those of us who remember the 360 commercial, like, how iconic was that? So when they went back and sourced that and brought that through the piece, I think it just showed that they kind of stayed true to what Gears is, but tell a new story, new arc.
Now, you're wearing a very cool Xbox Pride shirt today, but a year ago at the Xbox Showcase, you freaked out people like me by wearing a Hexen shirt, which is a game that I have very near and dear to my heart. And now, well, then too, you had just acquired Hexen. You own that as part of many other things. But then today, I see the reveal for Doom: The Dark Ages, and I go, well, wait a second.
How awesome was that?
Hold on. Are you secretly making a Hexen game in the Doom universe? Because I know you and I share the love for this.
Yeah. No, I would like to say I'm actually smart enough to predict anything like that. I wasn't. But definitely, if you look at Doom Dark Ages, and thanks to Marty and the team, they let me introduce that, right? So I got to come out, and like, I was going through all my old school stories. For those as old as me who remember, it's Doom 1 on a floppy going. My only PC that could run it was my PC at Microsoft. So I would sneak it at night, put it in so I could play. So the opportunity to stand there and get to announce a Doom and then Doom Dark Ages, which definitely has some Hexen in it. And I just thought Hugo and the team, fantastic work. I'm so proud.
Now, I can't help but bring up something that's been a topic of conversation a lot recently, which is that Doom the Dark Ages is also going to ship on PS5, something that you've done with some other games. So can you, from a business level, like, can you walk me through, you paid $7.5 billion to acquire Bethesda's ZeniMax. So what's the calculus, like, what's the process there for deciding, like, okay, new Doom, let's keep it multi-platform as it has been, or just put it on Xbox. So what's kind of the thought process there?
Well, on Doom, it's definitely one of those franchises that has a history on so many devices.
Yeah.
I think they have like Doom running on a lawnmower somewhere when you go back. But, and it's a franchise that I think everybody deserves to play. I'm really proud of what the team, and to be honest, like I was in a meeting with Marty and the team a couple of years ago, and I asked Marty what he wanted to do. And he said he wanted to ship it on all platforms. I said, let's go do that. Like, it was as simple as that. Now, I want to bring it back, though, because I get a lot of questions about, hey, if I'm an Xbox owner, what does it mean? And what I want to say, and I thought it showed up so well in the show today, you saw an amazing collection of games that are coming to Xbox. They're going into Game Pass day one. And Game Pass showed up so well. If you buy the game on our console, you get to play it on PC. You buy it on PC, you get so the cross entitlement stuff is all there, and we're focused on future hardware with forward compatibility. Our commitment to our Xbox customers is you're going to get the opportunity to buy or subscribe to the game. We're going to support the game on other screens, and you are going to see more of our games on more platforms. And we just see that as a benefit to the franchises that we're building. And we see that from players, and the players love to be able to play.
Well,
thank you.
There you go. I have to do the journalistically responsible thing now and bring the mood down. Otherwise, the internet would tear me apart. So I wanted to ask you, you haven't really commented publicly much in the last couple months. So I wanted to ask you about the studio closures and Tango Gameworks and some of the thoughts behind the decision making there. I mean, you had a critical darling in Hi-Fi Rush. You had folks like Aaron Greenberg saying it checked all these boxes for us and did all the right things here. So, walk me through the decision of why. Really, Tango specifically, not to disrespect the other studios that were closed, but that was the one that really seemed to kind of stick in the community's craw a bit. So I'm hoping here that you can take the opportunity to address that closure and some of the recent changes in Xbox.
Yeah, the closure of any team is hard, obviously, on the individuals there, hard on the team. And I try to spend all of my focus, as you said, I haven't been talking publicly about this, because right now is a time for us to focus on the team and the individuals. It's obviously a decision that's very hard on them, and I want to make sure through severance and other things that we're doing the right thing for the individuals on the team. It's not about my PR, it's not about Xbox PR, it's about those teams. In the end, I've said over and over, I have to run a sustainable business inside the company and grow. And that means sometimes I have to make hard decisions that frankly are not decisions I love, but decisions that somebody needs to go make. We will continue to go forward. We will continue to invest in what we're trying to go do in Xbox and build the best business that we can, which ensures we can continue to do shows like the one we just did.
On the the Activision Blizzard saga, that's all been, that probably maybe
you called it saga?
Well, I don't know. Did it from covering it and watching it, it felt like it put like 5 years on my life.
Yeah.
As somebody that covers Xbox, I can't imagine how it was for you. But as that came to a close, and you started integrating them into Activision Blizzard King, into Xbox Studios, has that changed the way that you think about running the business at all? Because the organization just got quite a bit larger, almost overnight in a sense.
No, I mean, we're still, and I hope we show this today, we're going to be about building great games for people to play, about giving them choice on Xbox to go play. We've got a broader library of games. The thing I'm starting to see, which I really love, is the organic collaboration between our teams that are coming out, and trying to build that community of creators that, I mean, you and I will go back to the time of Xbox where we basically had 4 games: Fable, Forza, Gears, Halo. And we would just literally every 4 years, and I would have to come to E3 and I'd somehow try to make those 4 games seem different every year for the community. And now what we have in gaming is just an amazing collection of teams and franchises that are doing great work. So I think, you know, I feel an added responsibility as somebody who loves this industry for the franchises that show up on our stage. But I still think in the end, it's about putting amazing games out. Like, I'm really proud of the work that Ninja Theory did with Hellblade and how Hellblade's been the response to that. And we have an amazing internal team now that's focused on us doing a bunch of Unreal games as an example. And then you see things like South of Midnight, which might have been my game of the show. I thought it looked so good. You got Perfect Dark, you have Gears. So like for us, as the organization gets bigger, I think it's just more important that we can take bets together and try to do innovative, creative things. And that will continue to drive us.
For Phil Spencer joining us at IGN Live. We still have so much more to talk about, Phil. You know, you and I in the past have talked a lot about the past of Xbox because there's a lot of great memories, but the present, as we saw today on the Xbox Game Showcase, is great. The future looks super promising here. And the Xbox business has changed dramatically.
It has.
Dramatically.
No doubt. Yeah.
Just in the past few years. And so when you make a almost $70 billion acquisition, do you start hearing from your bosses more, or are they still staying out of your way and letting you run the business? Because that's not an insignificant amount of money to spend on growing.
It's definitely not an
insignificant
insignificant amount of money. No, the support we get from the company, and my boss is the CEO of Microsoft, Satya Nadella. Hey, Satya. You know, we are given a ton of leeway to go and run and grow our business. But I'll say the thing that we challenge ourselves to do is to try to do new things. Like, I think if I go back 8 years ago, we said, hey, we're going to go ship all of our games on PC and console, and if you buy one on one, you get it on the other. And I got some reaction from people of, this is the worst decision ever, like this is going to be the end of Xbox. We announced Game Pass, and we started doing Game Pass. And I know some people looked at that and said, oh, you're going to teach people that games are free, and you're going to undermine the value in games. And what I can say sitting here today, from our decisions on cloud, on Game Pass, on console, like right now, we have more Xbox console users than we've ever had in the history of Xbox. And even when I look at things like the impact of Game Pass, because I watch that and I love Game Pass, like how it showed up in the show today, I think was fantastic. But we also want people to be able to buy games. So I go back and I look and I say, okay, over the last 5 years, what's happened to third-party game sales on our platform? We're up double digits every year over the last 5 years on game sales on Xbox consoles. So when I look at it, I will just, doing a $70 billion acquisition will push us to try to do more. It'll push us on cloud. It'll push us to go find customers in new places, continue to think about access to amazing games, enabling creators to do great work. But I actually think for the team, that's just a self-motivation that the team has, and it's fun to be a part of.
Black Ops 6 Day 1 Game Pass.
Black Ops 6,
sweet, right? Like,
some people said I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, most people in this room have probably been used to spending $60, $70 on it every year. Now, if they're already subscribing to Game Pass, good to go.
But it's a choice. We didn't say to anybody, you have to subscribe to play. If you want to buy Black Ops, it's great. It's great for us. It's great for the developer. If you want to subscribe, it's also great. I want to give you the choice on how you play your games and who you play with, and not try to do slimy platform things to force you to do what I want you to do. Give the players choice and what they want to do and who they play with.
So the Activision Blizzard thing, we watched it play out in courtrooms and regulatory
with
places.
my tie on.
Yeah, I'm curious, what was the biggest unexpected challenge for you and the team at Xbox during the course of that?
For the management team, like Sarah Bond, Lori Wright, Linda Norman, who's our lead lawyer at Xbox, like we all had our same job of running Xbox and doing the things that we needed to go do, Matt Booty. But then we actually added like this second job in the time of having to work through regulatory. And I didn't, it's my fault as the head of the business. I didn't really internalize that in the beginning of what a drain that would be on the team. And I think we saw that. I think we saw it in our execution on a couple things that we were doing, multiple things at a time that we hadn't planned for. And I'll say it's really nice to be post the acquisition, working with those amazing teams. I mean, how they showed up in our show today, fantastic, right? I just thought it was great. I mean, we had World of Warcraft in an Xbox show. Like, it's just crazy.
Was there ever a point in the process, because it really, between the CMA and the FTC and all these places, was there ever a point where you thought, oh, this might not happen, like this might get rejected?
Well, we always have to plan for all contingencies. Yeah. Like, we consider everything. Like, you have to in running the business. But we felt like we were on the side of right. Like, meaning we weren't doing this so we could pull Call of Duty from PlayStation players. It was never in our plan. I mean, I think my whole inbox leaked on the internet. So if anybody wanted to find that was the plan, you would find it somewhere. And it wasn't there. So we believed we were in the right on getting this deal done. So we stayed convicted. But there were dark days. Like, when the CMA came out and said, no, this isn't going to go through. And, the drag on the teams at Activision, Blizzard, and King, like, they're dealing with this uncertainty. So it's so nice to have it pass behind us, and now we can just focus on building great games together.
On that topic, like, we talk about all these huge changes to not just the industry, but again, specifically your business, the Xbox business, over the last 5 or so years. What is today, like, as we sit here now, what's the thesis statement? What's the modus operandi for Xbox today, and how has it changed over the last 5 years?
Yeah, and I see some of the feedback that our messaging from some people, that maybe our messaging hasn't been consistent. And I always hear the feedback and I take it. Like, feedback is great. I will say from early on, we would say when everybody plays, we all win. Like, how do we get in a place where everybody can play video games? And we've made different progress on PC. Now, like, PC is a huge business for us. We love that we have so many PC players, more than we've ever had. Our console's doing so well. But I think if you sit back and you try to frame this industry through the lens of the tradition of who sold a console today, and that's the only solution to making gaming better, I think, Xbox is doing something different than that. We love our consoles, we love our PC players, but really it's about creators and players and amazing games coming to them.
It has, admittedly, for all of us, creators, players, it has been a weird generation because it started weird in this pandemic. And I'm curious, would you do anything differently in this Xbox Series generation? If you could kind of go back and tell yourself,
I'm not really a regrets guy. Like, there's 100 decisions I make that, like, in hindsight, maybe I would make it different with all the data. But you got to just bet. You got to bet on yourself and bet on the teams. Have a vision of what you're trying to do. When you get punched in the face, you get back up and you try to go do things. So, like, I'm not really one who looks back and say, I wish I would have done this or that. If you're in a position like this, you just, with the team that we have, you just have to believe and you have to keep pushing forward and take the feedback from amazing customers that talk to us every day.
Has the calculus changed? You kind of spoke to Game Pass a little bit and how much of a value proposition it has increased after today even, but has the calculus changed on how much Game Pass subscriptions are valued at Microsoft versus direct sales? Like, because now, when Game Pass started, it was, wow, this sounds really cool, and you've pledged to put every first-party release in there, and at the beginning, there weren't a lot of those, but now you're almost, like, you had a whole show full of them. So kind of how does that metric for success, like, how does Game Pass influence the success of the business?
The thing I look at every morning is how many people played on our platforms and how long did they play. if they played through the subscription or they paid buying their games or they're playing a free-to-play game, I honestly, that's not the most important thing. So, Game Pass, I love it. I think it's the thing I really love about Game Pass, let me think, in our show today, a game like Mixtape. Like, a game like Mixtape is a game that we can go, Nathan, Val, and I can have a conversation and say, with a team that's been in Game Pass before, when you think about the studio behind, they had great success. Now we're going to do a second game, or like Winterboro, another like just awesome game that we can go invest in. And Game Pass gives us an ability. You can go invest in Call of Duties and Diablos all day, and we love that. But you also get to invest in new things that come out, and we just think that's a really important part of the equation. So we don't have like one now. Game Pass is up double digits, like, and in most of its growth, we said it. PC is growing really well, cloud's growing really well. But if somebody decides they want to buy their games and build their library, peace. Like, there's no, we need to turn everybody into this or that. We just want people to play.
I want to talk about Fallout for a second. So you guys are currently having an awesome pop culture moment.
Fallout TV show.
Months.
Yeah, so good.
So good. But I can't help think about that. A year or two ago, I was sitting with Todd Howard with a camera rolling, and I asked him, well, Fallout 5, is that, you want to do that yourself, or maybe now there's all these Xbox studios, you could maybe have some help with it? And he said, no, I want to, that's mine. I'm going to direct that.
Yeah.
But does
Todd likes his things.
But does the massive success of something like Fallout, I would argue is Xbox's biggest cultural moment in quite a while. Like, it transcended
outside of gaming. Yeah.
And so, after the TV show blows up and there'll be a season 2, and I'm sure it'll probably keep going past that. Do you talk to Todd about, like, you can't stop the Elder Scrolls 6 and say go do Fallout 5, but you have all these studios. Like, do you have a conversation about, like, well, how can we do a big new Fallout while the iron's really hot here with the TV show?
Yeah, I'll just say that Todd's recognized the success of the television show on his own, right? He doesn't need me to kind of go, and it is amazing to see how gaming is now playing such a role all up in pop culture. If you go back, like, as an old comic nerd, I go back like 10 years, and it seemed like every Hollywood thing came from the comics. And now you see video games and this art form that we've loved for so long, whether it's the Mario movie, Last of Us, Fallout show. Like, you see our creatives in our industry being recognized for the worlds and storytelling that they can go do. For us specifically, Fallout's been amazing. And yeah, Todd's kind of looking at the plans on what he's doing. I'm not going to get into it, but I'll say Todd has recognized the success on his own and is thinking through what that means.
I guess while we're on the subject, have you seen The Elder Scrolls 6 lately? Because I know you get to take a look at a lot of stuff.
I'll refrain from comment.
I think we all know what you mean by that.
That's right, boomy. Boomy.
Oh my goodness. Well, ask Todd to,
Todd,
I know you can't hurry.
Speed it up, Todd.
We're waiting here, pal. There's one other thing I wanted to ask you about that I thought we actually might hear something about from you. I mean, you had a great show. I'm not complaining. But I thought, well, there's something that's been rumored, that's been talked about. We talked about it on the pre-show. There was a big reaction from our audience here, and that is an Xbox handheld.
Yeah.
So you're a guy. I mean, you have the gamer score to prove it. Like, you walk the walk. You are not a guy that runs the business and never touches a game. You actually pretty much do nothing but play video games. And I mean that as a compliment.
I do work sometimes, but yeah.
But really, seriously, like
I love that. I don't do anything but play video games. It's kind of true.
You've been building the business around this mantra of go where the players are. Whether it's on PC, whether it's through the cloud.
So we should have a handheld.
I think so.
I think we should have a handheld.
Do you want to say anything about
No, I don't want to say. I think you have to have Sarah on. Sarah Bond, our president of Xbox, which is awesome. But like the future for us in hardware is pretty awesome, and the work that the team is doing around different form factors, different ways to play, I'm incredibly excited about. Today was about the games.
Yeah.
We showed some of our Gen 9 consoles, Series S, Series X, the work that we're doing. But we will have a time to come out and talk more about platform, and we can't wait to bring it to you guys.
All right, I'm not going to let you off the hook quite.
Okay,
One more
I tried.
So hypothetically, if Microsoft did an Xbox gaming handheld, PC device, would it be a Steam Deck-like dedicated piece of hardware that I can play offline, or would it be something I would need a Wi-Fi connection to stream things from?
No, I think what I'm finding, I'll do it this way. So I like my ROG Ally, my ROG Ally is my Lenovo Legion Go, fantastic, my Steam Deck. I think being able to play games locally is really important.
You can read between the lines on that as you will.
Now, as you can see, Phil was fired up, and he really went at it. Now, he said that if a handheld device were to come out, hypothetically, that it would have native support. Now, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I have heard about a handheld device, but I didn't hear that it was coming out now. I heard that it was coming out with the next Xbox console, and that it will actually match the power of that console. Now, of course, we're going to have to wait to see that, but that's what I heard behind the scenes. Now, it's nice to know that Phil Spencer is going to make sure that that device has native gameplay capabilities on it. So it's not a situation like the PlayStation Portal where you need a PlayStation device to play your games. You'll be able to play your games on the go wherever you are if Microsoft delivers on an Xbox handheld console. And it's kind of obvious that they are going to do that because, I don't know, just read between the lines in his interview. They're just not ready to announce that yet. Now, he also went in on Game Pass, how they are getting the most subscribers that they've ever had on PC, that they have the most players on consoles that they've ever had before, that their multi-plat game sales have gone up 2 times over the previous generation. So everything is going pretty good on the corporate level for Microsoft. I don't know why people are always down on Microsoft, like they're losing huge amounts of money. Now, PlayStation, they're selling like crazy. And yes, they're outselling Microsoft, but it doesn't mean that they're not profitable. If Honda sells more cars than Toyota, does that mean that Toyota is not profitable? No, it just means that they're not making as much or having as much success selling cars. Doesn't make their business model not profitable. We're seeing with Microsoft's aggressive strategy with Game Pass, I honestly believe that this is going to pay off. I think that a lot of people are going to be signing up to Game Pass this holiday season for Call of Duty, for Flight Simulator, for Indiana Jones. When Doom is approaching, a lot of people are going to subscribe to that service. People are going to subscribe to the service in September for Stalker 2. When South of Midnight hits, they're going to subscribe to the service. And there's so many games coming into the service that a lot of people are going to stay there. And this is only the beginning. Things are going to get better. There's going to be more and more games going into the Game Pass service. And I really do believe that in a couple of years' time, most people are going to be subscribed to the Game Pass service. Anyways, I wonder what you guys think about all of this. I think this is a huge W for Microsoft when they needed it because they had a lot of bad press. But at the end of the day, games is what counts. And a lot of games are coming to the Game Pass service. Now, even if a few games go over to PlayStation, they're not going day and date. They might go a year, 2 years later, and they're not going to be the big ones. I don't think we're going to see Fable on PlayStation. I don't think we're going to see Gears of War on PlayStation. I don't think we're going to see Forza on PlayStation. However, I think we might see Starfield. We might see a game like Blade on the PlayStation. But the core games that make up Microsoft, I don't believe that those games are going to be on the PlayStation. Now, Phil Spencer did say that there are going to be more games on more screens, but he never said all of the games. And everybody knows that if you bring your hardcore exclusives over to PlayStation, that's going to kick up a lot of noise and a lot of fans are not going to be happy about that. And Phil Spencer has been on record saying that he doesn't want to do anything to disrupt the brand. And bringing your hardcore exclusives like Fable, like Gears, like Halo would disrupt the brand, and I don't believe that Phil Spencer's gonna do that. Anyways, I wonder what you guys think about all of this. It was a very long video. Let me know what you thought about Xbox Games Showcase. What were your favorite games? What games are you looking forward to the most? What disappointed you about the show? Or maybe you just didn't like the show at all. Also, let me know your thoughts on Phil Spencer's interview. Let me know in the comment section down below. I will also leave in the description a link to the full interview over at IGN. So like I usually say, please like, share, subscribe to the channel. And like I usually say, I'll see you guys on the next one.